So, hello, Aries, and welcome to your 2022 forecast. We start the year off with January, and the main milestone card that I drew from the Patch Tarot was death, or transition versus resistance, and then what that ends up looking like. Major transition and transformation, the more you resist, the harder it will become, or the more definite it stays. It's clarified with the Emperor, the Two of Coins, and the Two of Wands, which was clarified further by the Hanged Woman and the King of Cups. This is the Chakra Wisdom Tarot. This may definitely be, especially if you have really significant placements with Mars and Aries in your chart, you may in fact be going through the release of a feminine energy. Okay, the release of a feminine energy. So this is someone whose qualities are very empathic. This is someone whose qualities are very considerate. And it really does feel as if this particular person is truly walking out the door to catch a ship to a whole new land, a whole new world, a different kind of reality, because the way this Emperor and King of Cups energy is presenting, it's very much in charge. And I feel as if this feminine energy is looking at the masculine energy and seeing the emotionally controlling nature of this person, right? The feminine is seeing a different perspective when it comes to the masculine, and they are seeing him as more emotionally controlling and emotionally withdrawn, while simultaneously maybe the masculine is thinking he's more emotionally mature than the feminine, right? She's seeing things, the feminine is seeing things from a different perspective. Genders are fluid, so, take it how it resonates. There's a masculine person and a feminine person in this scenario, not specifically tied to gender, but there is definitely a feminine who is walking out the door, because I feel as if the environment that the feminine is in has become toxic. Okay, so the transformation or transition you may be going through, Aries, those with significant Aries placements in January, may be the sheer fact that someone is exiting your life, or you are in fact exiting someone else's life, right? Take it how it resonates, because it is just too toxic for them. It's emotionally toxic for them. They're seeing it in a different light and choosing to look at what other options they have moving forward, removing themselves from the toxicity. Okay, because especially if they once really loved this masculine energy to the point of blissful ignorance or turning a blind eye to the toxicity, it's getting to a point where they can't do that anymore. Okay, so the transition, I'm going to say this is a crossroads energy, because to be fair, the Two of Coins and the Two of Wands are both cards where they haven't necessarily crossed the threshold of no return yet, but they are definitely thinking about the idea. So, if you realize that someone you care about is walking away from you, or you are that someone on the fence about walking away from someone else, there would have to be a very serious transition and acceptance of change, big change, right? Monumental change, in order for them to stay. The shadows would have to be dealt with. All right, that is January. For February, we have the Wheel of Flow as the milestone for the month, with death, justice, and the Queen of Swords in reverse, clarified by the Six of Cups. The Wheel of Flow is about you being in creator energy, right? Whether you decided to leave last month or someone left last month. This is being in creator energy, which means the old cycle has officially closed. They are a part of your past and giving you a moment to shine and create the new personification of who you would like to be perceived and received as. Okay, the Death card is about being able to move forward in this particular deck away from the shadows of your past and redefining the self in a balanced place, right, with truth that is balanced within the self, what you are truly able to receive with the will and intention that you put out. Okay, all is fair. All is fair. If someone were to walk out on your life, there is a reason why they didn't stay, okay? There is a reason why they didn't stay. Sometimes it's because of their own childhood wounds, and sometimes it's because of our own childhood wounds. And sometimes we don't realize that it's a little bit of both, because people love to point and blame and don't necessarily always realize what it is that they did that caused a split. Just be aware. The Queen of Swords in the reverse with the Six of Cups. I think you will see very quickly why someone is a part of your past. The Queen of Swords in reverse can be a real nasty, sharp-tongued, bitter truth. Okay? Nasty, sharp-tongued, bitter truth. And it's coming from a soulmate with the Six of Cups. So please be aware, like if you're seeing something in your mirror that is unpleasant, it's because there's a serious need to look within the self at what the self views as unpleasant within itself. A great example would be if someone were to blame you for everything and it's your fault, then Spirit is asking you to look at how your own human mind or mundane choices got you where you are. How are you not listening to Spirit? How are you not listening to your intuition? How are you not heeding your discernment? Right? What were you not following in your gut? What did you already know to do or say or not do or not say and did it or didn't do it anyway? Said it or didn't say it anyway, you know? So this is a reminder that when we get angry or frustrated with others, it's because we're angry and frustrated with the self. It's no different when someone is angry or frustrated with us. That is our higher self being angry or frustrated with us, that we haven't broken through a karmic cycle yet. You know, and we have an opportunity to do that this month, Aries. We have an opportunity to do that for February. Just make sure that you are not repeating the same cycle, whether you're idolizing someone who's new and fresh and putting them on a pedestal, or wearing rose-colored glasses, or even coming in with the same pessimistic viewpoint, right? This is about doing things differently, remembering that everybody is unique and they are not the same person you were with before unless you are the same person you were before, because who we are dictates our reality. You could take the most kindest, most compassionate, soft-spoken person in the world and turn them into a quote-unquote crazy psycho who's jealous and angry all the time. Why? Because your behavior dictated that out of them. That's your mirror. You just picked that person to be your mirror. And they went from being someone that they were to someone that they weren't in order for you to learn and heal something. So keep it in mind that you are not repeating the same cycle because your own energy has changed and transformed within the self, that you left your shadows behind you. Okay, your shadows. We all have light and dark qualities, but the shadow is the wounding. So it's okay that you have strengths and it's okay that you have weaknesses. It is not okay that you bring your flaws and cracks into a dynamic, because it's the flaws and the cracks that end up ruining it, not the light and the dark. The light and the dark creates a painting, but the cracks ruin it. Okay, and there's a difference. So that is February. For March, we've got the Sun card with the Chariot card as your milestones for the month, with the Three of Swords, the Magician, and the Knight of Cups. So, two things could be going on. The big energies are illumination and motion, or tension and narcissism. So you've got to be very aware, Aries, especially if you were the one that left, because you may be dealing with someone who is narcissistic and offers you kind words or promises because they know that you miss them and you're heartbroken and you want your power back and you think you're going to get it from them. This is also a caution if someone walked out of your life that they may in fact try and come back in and want their power because they miss you, and you might not be willing to give it to them, right? They're asking you to be a knight in shining armor in their dark night. They have wounds. You're either aware of your own mistakes and your own self and owning that moving forward, or you're still grabbing and holding on to the fact that you feel owed by someone. Okay, one or the other. Take it how it resonates. The heart space is definitely hurt that someone you cared about left. It's starting to really sink in March. Be super cautious of manipulation, whether someone is aware they are manipulative or not. You have to discern. You absolutely have to use your mind and your heart together in order to discern, because it doesn't matter how much you want to hear the words coming out of someone's mouth. It doesn't matter how much they think they mean them. It doesn't matter how much they want to mean them. This is about facing the reality of a situation, and something either is or it isn't. Someone either is or they aren't. You have to decide whether or not this person or yourself is truly different and can be different in the dynamic with someone familiar, or if you really truly do just need to move forward because the growth is not there, right? Because it's either illumination in motion, the sun with the chariot in its light, or it's tension, feeling the inner tension, feeling the inner struggle, feeling the lack, and diving into the realm of narcissism. Wanting what you can't have, wanting what you don't necessarily deserve or are in alignment with your energy. That's a better way to put it. It's not that we don't deserve beautiful people. It's that we want them when we're not in alignment with them. That causes pain. We want them when we are not in alignment with them. That is tension that dives into the realm of narcissism. I don't care if you're the person that left and you want to believe that you can change a person. You are just as narcissistic. You are just as narcissistic if you think that you can change someone and that your love is strong enough to change someone. That you would go back and prove yourself right. You are more in love with being right about them than you are with them. It's narcissistic. It's equally as bad when you know that you are manipulating someone, not treating them the way they should be treated, when they're giving you love and you're testing them and testing them and testing them and testing them over and over and over again to prove that they love you more than anybody else and that they would never leave. Parentheses again. It's narcissistic. Nobody has to prove anything. That's going to be the big lesson March. For April, the milestone cards are Strength, the Passion card, and the Moon. This is strength versus weakness and introspection versus lunacy. Okay? The way these cards play out, Knight of Coins, Knight of Swords, and the Six of Cups reversed. You may originally start the month, Aries, trying to exude a lot of patience. Trying to understand the inner workings of someone else. When the real strength comes from being patient with yourself and looking within. I think the more you attempt to stick around whoever this is that you're dealing with, this soulmate, I think you will come to the stark realization that trying to continue anything with them is fucking crazy. It's crazy. You are giving into your own shadow, continuing to deal with a person who is not ready to heal with you. The Knight of Coins is about proceeding with caution and doing things one step at a time. And then Knight of Swords, losing your shit and speaking what's on your mind, trying to cut through the storm clouds, being impulsive. You go from trying to keep a lid on it and that makes the pressure build, to erupting through the lid and possibly trying to cut this soulmate down to size. I will again remind you of the divine mirror. Whatever you're saying to someone else, if you were to slide a mirror in between you and them, you would be yelling at yourself. You would be yelling at yourself. To be freaking out and telling someone that it's all their fucking fault and they're weak and they're this and they're not ready and they're that. And if they just, treated you better, well, what's your mirror saying? It's your fault. That moment, that literal now moment that you are having that freak out moment, you are saying it's your fault. You're not ready. You didn't treat me better. That you are having this fucking moment with toxic what's-their-face. Where was your strength looking within that you kept trying to raise the dead in someone? You can't heal anybody but yourself, thinking that you could work through someone else or get someone else to change. It's fucking nuts. People have to want to. You can't make them want to. You can't love them into choosing to change. People have to love themselves into choosing to change. And I think that is the harsh realization that you're coming to in April. You're realizing that you get yourself in these situations with toxic people by looking in everybody else's mirror, everybody else's faults and flaws, and thinking that in some way you're better than them, above them, more advanced than them, further along than them. It's very immature and egotistical. Take it how it resonates, Aries, because this could be you, it could be someone you're dealing with, but to be fair, I believe in the mirror. It's always both. Some which way, shape, or form, it's always both. How'd you get yourself in this situation? No different than the person you're yelling at is wondering how the fuck they got themselves in this situation with you screaming in front of them. Not that they don't deserve to be screamed at. But is it your job to get super fucking upset over it? They might be telling you the flat out harsh truth. Or you might be telling someone the honest to God's harsh reality, the harsh truth about themselves. And they can't see it because the harsh reality of yourself is that you're not in your light if you're behaving that way. You're not. It's like blaming someone for how hard things got without them around. That you're struggling now, or you're having a hard time not being overwhelmed with life because they're not around. And if they just changed, if they just embraced who you wanted them to be, things would be so much better. Well, think about that mirror. Spirit's talking to you. Like, if you just embraced your best version, things would be better. You wouldn't be overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed with the amount of inner work you need to do. It's introspection and the strength to do it. That's what April's about. For May, we have the Star card clarified again, and you're reading the Wheel of Flow. You're back in this creative energy, and it's faith versus despair and fortune versus misfortune. Do you have faith in your fortune, or are you in complete despair over your misfortune? This is the scales that you are on in May. The King of Swords asks you to see the higher perspective for exactly what it is, the mirror for exactly what it is. The feminine in the reality is a Queen of Cups, clarified by the Temperance card. A Six of Coins, clarified by the High Priestess. We have 4 feminine figures on the card and 1 masculine. This feminine energy, whoever the feminine is, however you resonate, is in fact someone who looks at it like it is their job to love you and help you acclimate, help you temper yourself. They believe that it is a part of their purpose to love you and return you to balance. Essentially, the more and more chances they give you while you're misaligned with them, they're your earth angel. Or you are their earth angel, right? However it resonates for you. The issue with the Six of Coins is you know that you're giving and giving and giving and giving, and someone is just taking and taking and taking and taking more than you are capable of giving. And you know this. Your intuition knows this. If you're the feminine energy, you know this. The King of Swords is very cold and calculating. And they are trying, you may be dealing with someone who is trying to continue to take from you while you're looking at it like it's your job to help save them. And you're giving them and giving to them, and for what return? For what return? You're offering a lot of healing, and what are you getting in return? Do you have faith in your own fortune that you can have the love you give returned to you? Or are you completely delving into the misfortune of despair and continuing to drain yourself? Which side of the coin have you chosen? Because in May, you have an opportunity to create better. If there are certain qualities about you that you absolutely love and wish that your partner would be the same, then you have to have faith in your fortune that you can go out away from this toxic, self-loathing mirror and go find better. And stop trying to change someone else to match your vibration when they're not ready. You got to be able to love the positive qualities in yourself regardless of what position you're in. You could be the cold, calculating, facts-based reality person, and you're looking at someone like, this is not what I want a partner to bring to the table. You're not bringing it to the table. Yeah, you love me, but can love pay the bills? Can love support a family? Can love support the lifestyle that I want to live? If the answer is no, well, then you got to be able to tell yourself that you can find somebody who brings to the table what you bring to the table, instead of looking in the mirror and seeing the toxic reality that you're not something. Maybe you're not as compassionate and caring and considerate and empathic and emotional. Maybe that's your weakness, but does it have to be your shadow? Does it have to be the snake that bites you? Or can you accept that that's just not who you are, and you can find somebody else more like you? Otherwise, you're just going to be drained, no matter which way you cut it. May is about embracing the beautiful qualities in yourself, acknowledging the beautiful qualities in yourself, and knowing that those beautiful qualities are worth focusing on, because that's what you will find when you do. May is about filling up your own cup and giving back to yourself, giving opportunity to yourself, giving abundance to yourself, giving experience to yourself. Because I feel like you already know the more you give to others, they have no way of returning it to you. That is not who they are. It is not what their strong suit is. Like, call a spade a spade. That's May. In June, the milestone card is the Lover's card. It is marriage versus divorce. It comes out with the Six of Swords, the Two of Cups, and the Queen of Wands. This is a reminder that you create what you want to create. The Lover's card originally in Tarot was the Choice card. Before it was the Lovers, it was the Choice card. You're either going to be balanced within and marry yourself, or you're going to challenge yourself, be at war with yourself, and opt for inner divorce, which the inner reflects in the outer, right? You're either in union within the self, or you're at war within the self. This is about moving forward in a way into a calmer state of mind, being around soulmates who are better aligned with your energy, and manifesting what you really want. Queen of Wands is a heart's desire, the desire of spirit to manifest and be received. What do you really want? That is the question of June. What do you really want? Not who, but what. If you think about who you were dealing with this first half of the year, did you want them, or did you want them to be something? Because what you really want then is not them. What you really want is them to be something. That's what you really want, the something you want them to be. But they don't need to be that for you to receive that. Now, on the other hand, if you're dealing with someone who's very different from you and your strengths and weaknesses are different than theirs, maybe you are more logical and rational and financially based, and maybe the other is more compassionate and emotionally supportive and very maternal. And you can choose to accept each other for who you are and not try and make the other more like yourself. It could work out fine. It could work out fine, as long as you accept that they are not you. And you will never be them. And that's okay. That has to be accepted for this to work. You're two extremely different people. As long as that's okay, and you can be yourselves with each other, then it's fine. But if either one of you were to try and change the other, or hope the other was more of this, or hope the other was more of that, well, you're asking for divorce. That's being conflicted within yourself. That's you wishing that you were more this or you were more that. Self-approval is ultimately what June comes down to. How do you self-approve? How do you self-approve? Do you self-approve by holding strong as yourself in a relationship with someone who is very different from you in order to create balance? Or do you look at your own strengths, admire your own strengths, and desire to create that with someone else because what you really want is not them, but a behavior or character? Someone who is of a certain character, who behaves a certain way. Go find it then. It's not in the person you were dealing with, right? So June is about self-approval. June is about self-approval and what you create when you don't, okay? In July, we're essentially flashing back to February, March. We've got the Sun card with Justice and Death and the Ace of Wands. Now, I've been shuffling the crap out of this deck. So the fact that you got Justice and Death again, like you did in February, and the Sun again, like you did in March, this is a revisiting of where you were. Have you truly left your shadow, the ghost of the person who is not meeting up to your standards behind? And I'm talking about you. The ghost or shadow of you, the version of you that is not meeting or was not meeting your own expectations. That you expect better from yourself. To create better. To choose better. To discern better. To look within better. To be illuminated better. About what's going on inside yourself. Being in your own light and not your narcissistic shadow. Because July, we're definitely revisiting that energy. Have you left it behind yet? Have you found balance in the truth within yourself yet? Because the way this Ace of Wands looks, there is great potential for you to move forward, to elevate from this position. You know, you're refacing the same lesson, the same mirror over again. The issue I have with the Ace of Wands is she's at the bottom. The feminine is at the bottom of the staircase, and she's looking at the past instead of up towards the top of the stairs where the light is. Are you embodying the best qualities that you would hold your self-standard to? Can you take your own best advice? What advice would you give a friend in your position? Reflecting on the last 6 months prior to July. If you had someone you cared about immensely as a friend, more than a friend, they're like a brother or a sister to you in soul. If they were in your scenario, what advice would you give them? And can you take your advice? Would you tell them they deserve better than that? Would you tell them that they're better than that? Would you tell them to let it go? Would you tell them not to be angry and bitter? Would you tell them to drop it? Stop poking the bear. Stop going back. Move on. Would you get frustrated with them if they didn't listen? Because you love them so much, you hate seeing them in pain? How do you think your higher self feels? got to be able to take your own advice. You got to stop looking back, Aries. Stop expecting. Stop expecting. Expectations only lead to disappointments. Maybe that is the ultimate lesson. When you expect things from other people, you set them up for failure. People will either naturally meet your expectations or they won't. And if they don't, that's okay. They're not in alignment with you. But if you have to express your expectations to someone, you have already failed yourself. Spirit would expect better from you. Which I guess is Spirit's own failure to expect anything. That Spirit, our higher self, gets frustrated with us at all. Why do you think we're critical of the self or hard on the self? Although to be fair, Spirit expects us to be in our light, and it's not unhealthy to be there. Spirit wants our best version. It knows we're capable. How can you better meet your own standards? Can you take the advice you give? Can you treat people the way that you want to be treated? Because if you want to be allowed to be yourself and not be criticized, if you want to be allowed to be yourself and not be judged, if you want to be allowed to be and do what you are and do and not have anybody hold you to an expectation, because the only person that matters, the only person whose approval matters is your own, can you give that to someone else? Can you let them be without judgment, without expectation, and just simply enjoy witnessing them in your reality that they would choose to be in your reality for you to witness? Can you drop the expectations? Can you stop being so hard on everybody else and yourself? Can you put it down? Judgment and expectation, failure and disappointment. Can you put them down and let them be a past version of yourself that no longer exists? This is the challenge for July. In August, we have a special Holy Arcana in this particular deck called The Way. It is pray versus trust. It's clarified by the Three of Wands, the Queen of Swords, and the Moon. Now I want to read you about The Way, being is the very special card. It says, the way can only truly be understood when experienced in relationship to the teachings of the Tao. Understand, no matter how much we attempt to indicate a concept, what we are indicating cannot possibly encompass the true spirit of said concept. On the Tree of Life, this card connects with Ain, the eternal vacuum of spirit. Ain is the nothingness from which the concept of infinity emerges, describing that all things originate from and dissolve back into nothingness. This may seem like a blessing and a curse, but it is simply the way we came to be and the way we are going. In Hebrew, it's called Atzmut, which is the essence. The appearance of the way in a reading has one meaning that can be interpreted in various ways. The highest principle is that it is a card of complete trust and faith in that which is beyond our ability to comprehend. In this, we have to surrender to the flow that moves through us. We know the way. The key to this card suggests the act of prayer is the purest method to tap into the natural law and open a channel with the divine. Through prayer, a space of silence is created so the subtlest of notions from spirit may come through. When we take the time, because we can hope and trust, well, if something's meant to be, it's meant to be. I'll just trust. If I'm meant to find someone, I'll find someone. If I'm meant to be with this person, I'll be with this person. If I'm meant to get a new job, I'll get a new job. Trust. And then there's prayer. Prayer is when you still every other thought and ask your higher self to listen to what you want to create. That you would speak it into form. August may be the actual month, Aries, where you realize that you are on the journey of the self. You are on the journey of the self. And as much as you control all of the choices, you are not in complete control of the outcome of those choices. Being in control and out of control simultaneously. You can choose any fucking thing you want, but the ramifications are predetermined. You can choose anything you want. The alignment of said choices is predetermined. So you've got to pray for what it is that you want to experience that is beautiful, and allow yourself in those moments to listen to the advice you feel and the intuitive pingings of your heart space, your gut. When you're in a state of prayer, you are in a state of open communication with the divine. And when you ask, the divine can answer. It will always guide you to do something. It will always guide you to some epiphany or revelation about the self. It will always set the snowball down the hill. Knock the first domino for you so the rest can fall in place. Three of Wands is about understanding you are on the journey of self. Queen of Swords in the upright is recognizing your own inner heartfelt truth. And maybe realizing that you've been living in an ice cave. That your heart, the truth is you've been living in an ice cave. Not loving yourself for too long. Realizing with the moon card that you've been talking to the dark wolf instead of the white wolf. That you've been feeding fear and letting fear get stronger instead of love. You've been feeding this fear of yourself. You're afraid. Afraid of you and who you could be. Afraid of going after it because what if you didn't reach it? Instead of just feeding the love of self and letting yourself go step by step towards the version of yourself that you would absolutely love being. There's that Native American myth about the two wolves, fear and love. And whichever one you feed gets stronger. And you can only feed one at a time. If you're constantly feeding fear and listening to fear and acting out of fear and speaking out of fear because fear is the motivator. You're afraid of what life looks like without someone. You're afraid of what life looks like when you're on your own and you have to make your own choices and be successful and you can't depend on somebody else to solve your problems for you. You're afraid of what it looks like. To think for yourself, to trust yourself. How many times over the course of the year did you feed fear? This is your hindsight 2020 moment. This is where you could pray to Spirit, God, Source, Creator, your higher self, your angels, whatever label you would like to put on it. This is when you pray to something bigger than yourself and accept the fact that you are, in fact, bigger and more capable than you previously believed yourself to be. You can create better because you can consistently be better. Who said you can't love your growth? Who said you can't love every experience that got you here to this understanding of who you are? Who said you can't be grateful for everything? The good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent, and everything in between. What have you not learned because of it? Nothing. You've learned everything you could learn, right? Have that mindset. I have learned so much via experience that I can't actually hate any of it. I can't be disappointed in myself for any of it because it got me right here. All the times I was disappointed in myself and afraid taught me what that manifests, what actions I take end up manifesting this or that. And I don't like that. I've learned through experience that fear creates nothing worth experiencing over again. Just because I'm grateful for the experience that I've had does not mean I want to repeat it. This is when you stop feeding the wolf of fear. At least that's the opportunity you're being given. That's August. In September, we've got a major month. The Lovers came back out again as your milestone card came out sideways. And we've got the Sun, the Magician, and Judgment as your clarifying energies. 3 major arcana. This is a big month, Aries. Especially because the Sun is predominantly in Virgo and ends in Libra, which is your polar opposite sign. Virgoian energy is a wild card energy for you. It quincunxes your natal sun sign. Understand this. If you have chosen to not be at war with yourself and the reality that you are not fighting against life, but are grateful for life, if you came out of August truly being grateful, you're going to see that come September, your mind or masculine energy is going to be giving power back to your feminine energy. Listening to how you feel. Because if it doesn't feel good and you start acting from shadow emotions, like fear, if you start doubting yourself, if you start feeling insecure or unworthy of better, if you start to regret, if you start to get angry, if you start to make excuses for yourself or others, if you start to see worst case scenarios flooding through your thoughts, if your ego or your pride gets challenged and triggered, and you're up against a quote-unquote opponent, it doesn't feel good. Your feminine aspect of self is going to tell you this doesn't feel good. And if you can empower your feminine energy space to walk away from that which doesn't feel good, if you can do that, you will constantly find yourself in a situation that feels better, in environments that feel better, around people that feel better, in scenarios that feel better, because you are not willing to submit and or entertain lower vibrations. This is that month where you can truly choose to marry a new and improved, lighter version of yourself. If it doesn't feel good, let it go. I always say, if it's not a fuck yeah, it's a fuck now. Not now. Not now. The only moment that ever exists is the now moment. The past is gone, the future is never here yet. It's just right now. So right now, if something is not a fuck yeah, it's a fuck now. Not now. Maybe it'll be a fuck yeah tomorrow. Maybe it'll be a fuck yeah next year. Maybe it'll be a fuck yeah next life. But if it's not a fuck yeah, it's a fuck no. Not right now. Nope, not today. Literally, not today, Satan. Not today. Nope, not today. For September, Aries, I think you're finally starting to understand that your feelings work in your favor. Your ability to feel works in your favor. If it doesn't feel good, it's not in your highest good alignment. It's not in your highest good alignment. They might have been a beautiful teacher of a wonderful karmic lesson, but they're not in alignment with their highest good. They're not in alignment with the highest good for you. If it doesn't feel good, it's not something that you need to partake in. And to be fair, just because it's a fuck yeah today doesn't mean it will be a fuck yeah tomorrow. Someone's energy, circumstances could completely change down the road. But as long as you're okay with understanding the moment-to-moment approval or disapproval from your feminine aspect, your heart space, your feelings, if you don't like feeling under the pressure someone is putting you under, get yourself out from underneath the pressure of that person. Let it go. You're not obligated to shit. You know what I mean? And vice versa. If it doesn't feel good to deal with someone who you constantly have to put pressure on and try and control because they're completely unpredictable, stop dealing with that person. Stop trying to control them. Forget it. You're just going to make yourself nuts. September is a major month for you because your feelings are your best friend. They're your best divine tool about understanding what is in alignment with you in a now moment and what isn't. And you could take each moment that way and live your best life that way. That's what September's about. For October, we are predominantly in Libra season, which, like I said, is your polar opposite sign, right? And the balance must be maintained. Because in September, you were having big breakthroughs on what it is to recognize when something doesn't feel good and let it go. That might have been such a huge focus that you forgot to show gratitude and appreciation and express gratitude and appreciation for those that do feel good or that which does feel good. The Sun card in reverse is narcissism, or the failure to acknowledge those that love you, who support you and care about you. The failure to do that. The Knight of Cups, you may have been particularly harsh to someone who does care about you and consider you and loves you and supports you, because you were so focused on negativities and getting rid of them in September. They might have ended up in the crosshairs. And if they were having a rough day, maybe you went a little too harsh on them. Because people have bad days, you know. Two of Cups, soulmates. 3, major arcana, the Empress is here. You got to take steps, Aries. Everything is a matter of steps, right? No different than that Ace of Wands. There's a lot of steps to get to the top. But you're still going to take each one. As long as you're looking towards the future, you take one step at a time. First step was acknowledging when something doesn't feel good. The second step is going to be learning how to communicate that. You don't have to be nasty. You don't have to be insensitive. You don't have to be brash or blunt or brutal. Remember who you're talking to. Are you talking to someone who uses you all the time and you're telling them to fuck off? Or are you talking to someone who considers you the vast majority of the time and understands you the vast majority of the time and might have just had a bad day? Who are you talking to? Remember who you're talking to. Does the person you're talking to really not give a shit about you? Have they proven time and time again that they are there for you the vast majority of the time? To the point that maybe they are only not there for you or understanding of you when you're completely off rails? And then they can't fucking accept or tolerate your shit because you're completely unhinged and they don't deserve that? Like, what do they deserve? You might owe an apology this month, Aries, for taking it too far with someone. Someone who deserved your love, kindness, and consideration in return. And you didn't give that to them. They needed a moment of understanding, kindness, and consideration, and you failed to recognize it. You started treating them like everybody else when they're not everybody else. And they deserve better from you because more often than not, you get the best of them, the best. You get their compassion. You get their mercy. You get their understanding. You get their support. You get their trust. You get their joy. You get their empowerment. You get their love and gratitude in their actions, not just their words, in their actions. October is going to be a month for you to recognize where you may have made a mistake and owning it. That is the next step. Owning your missteps. You thought you were taking a step forward, and the reality is you tripped on your face and fell back a couple steps. Okay? That's okay. You get back up. Accept the step that you fell back onto. Address it so that you can move forward again. Learn to control the words that you speak with such passion so that they're directed in the right way, so that they're communicated in the right way. Some people do not deserve brutality. Some people do not deserve harsh. Some people deserve consideration and kindness and comfort. They deserve a loving, understanding tone instead of a brutal, harsh, I don't give a fuck about anything right now mode. It's fine if you don't give a fuck about anything, but you will stop not giving a fuck about anything when they are in your presence and they need you for a moment because you care about them and they care about you, and you can't not give a fuck about them. You will have to put your I don't give a fuck mode on pause for a moment so that they don't get dealt the brunt of that when they don't deserve it. That's October. In November, We have that wheel of flow again, but this time it's in reverse, which is the embrace side of the wheel. It's the embrace side of the wheel. It's clarified with the moon in reverse, the Seven of Swords, the Hierophant, and the King of Swords. This is about you understanding how the difference between September and October, right, shows you parts of yourself that you either feel good about or don't feel good about. It doesn't feel good to realize that you hurt somebody that cares about you, that you care about. That never feels good. To be completely fair, if someone who cared about you like that got the brunt of your negative, impulsive, I don't give a shit about anything moment, that could hurt. That could hurt them. This is accepting the fact that you can hurt people with your own pain body. You can hurt people with your own pain body, your own shadow. The moon is about releasing the shadow. Moon in reverse is about releasing the shadow, and the only way to release the shadow is to acknowledge the fact that it's there. It's there. Maybe you didn't believe that anybody could love you and care about you and consider you all the time. Doesn't mean that they don't exist. There's people like that exist. Just because you didn't believe that anybody could be like that doesn't mean that there's not anybody like that. It's a matter of what you perceive. It's your hurt. That's your pain body. That's your shadow. You probably really hurt that person last month. And that's going to take some time to heal. To be completely fair, you might have hurt them in such a way that you legit robbed yourself of someone who considered you all the time, without fail. And that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back for them. Like maybe you never actually returned the same gratitude or appreciation for them being in your life that they had for you being in theirs. And then you snapped on them on top of it. And they were just like, you know what am I doing this for? And your hurt them. Because the Seven of Swords here, you robbed yourself of something. Anger, not giving a fuck, is a part of yourself that you don't like feeling. It doesn't feel good to feel that way. It doesn't feel good. An extension of the lesson from September. It doesn't feel good to feel that way. And when you feel a way that doesn't feel good, it creates more not feel good moments, like losing someone who legit cared about you. See how that works? If you're going to marry the self, the Hierophant, you got to marry yourself to the higher perspective, the King of Swords. Because the universe, the law of attraction, like attracts like, it doesn't give anything other than what your energy opted to receive. If you are in a vibration or character or mode that doesn't actually feel good to be in, you're going to get a reality that doesn't feel great to be in. Energy, the laws of the universe don't bend or break. Your energy is everything. Taking things personal doesn't feel good. Being upset with the self doesn't feel good either. Like I said, in October, being able to own your mistakes is a big deal. And they might not have been receptive at the time. because they were freshly wounded. You might need to embrace the reality. Let time heal some things. If it really is something or someone that matters to you, you might want to make a gesture after some time has passed to say, hey, I'm still thinking of you. And I don't know what you're going through or what's going on in your life, but I hope this makes your day regardless. I hope it makes your day better regardless, even if you're already having the best day. Legit. I'm sorry for every time that I didn't appreciate you or acknowledge you or the kind of person you are in my life, because you never stopped caring and I never acknowledged it, because you know what? A part of me never thought anybody could really care about me like that. And I fucked up because you did exist and you were real and you did care. And it's my fault for failing to see it. And if I've lost you in my life forever because I fucked up, then I accept and embrace the fact that I deserve that lesson. And I will never treat another person that cares about me like you did the way I treated you. I will learn from my mistake. Make that promise to yourself and hold true to it. Hold no expectations. Don't get angry with them when they don't respond, if they don't respond. Don't get angry or upset with them if they don't respond the way you would have hoped that they would. You hurt someone. They've got to process it still. They're inside their pain body now. You know what that feels like, to be inside your pain body, and how you didn't treat people the way they deserve to be treated, or didn't embrace the reality of what you did deserve to receive that feels good. You're going to have to show compassion, mercy, not lash out at them. Even if their response or no response is lash out worthy, you're going to have to learn mercy and embrace the reality that you created for what it is, and allow time to do its thing. Because if you can't make it up to them in this lifetime, promise that you will make it up to them at some point, even if it's next lifetime. If you can't show them how much you love and appreciate all that they were there for you in this lifetime because they've blocked you out, then you will absolutely make it up to them next life. Because they deserve it. Because they deserve it. The energy of November is accepting how you've robbed yourself in a given situation or multiple situations, and to have compassion for the people and mercy for the people that you've hurt. That you can't lash out and pain at them because they're in pain caused by you already. You're not allowed to hurt them more. There's karma to pay for that, right? We know how that story goes. So, big lessons learned in November. For December, Aries, we get the Child and the Priestess as the primary milestone cards, and they're both in reverse, which is a reminder not to be distracted with doubt. Okay? You have had a major victory within the self this year, transforming the self this year. You may be ending the year really confused about these soulmates because you kind of didn't realize what you had until it was gone. And you might be wondering if or when they'll ever come back. Anything that is meant to be with you in this life, for you in this life, will always be yours. Anything that is yours, it will always be yours. Anything that's not meant to move forward with you won't. Don't be distracted by doubt. Don't think that the progress that you've made is not good enough. The Six of Wands is a reminder that you have come a long way. It's a victory card, a victory of spirit. You've had an incredibly, what's the word I'm looking for? Because it's not necessarily difficult, but a very testing year, a very lesson-filled year, and spirit pushed you to limits, to your limits in order to learn it. Spirit may have tested you beyond your limits in order to get you beyond your own limitations this year. In order for you to learn the lessons, you took a lot of losses. There was a lot that had to be sacrificed in the outer experience because there was a lot you had to sacrifice shadow-wise on the inner experience. All you can do is the best you can do that feels good for you now. It might be extremely awkward with the holidays not talking to someone. It might be a really beautiful thing to wish them a Merry Christmas because it feels good for you to wish them a Merry Christmas. It doesn't feel good to not talk to them at all. That doesn't feel good. It might feel better to wish them a happy holiday. Even if they don't answer, because you know what? They deserve a Merry Christmas or a happy holiday from you. Happy New Year. That you're still showing them that you care and you're trying, no matter how hurt they are. And it doesn't matter if you got to say Merry Christmas for 10 Christmases without a response, because they still deserve the Merry Christmas from you. Or whatever holiday you celebrate. Right? Don't be distracted with doubt. If you've got love in your heart for someone and it feels good to be present for them, do it in a way that feels good to do it. If you're going to feel upset or bad after, then don't. If you're going to take it personal, then don't. Why are you hurting yourself? Can you tell yourself not to take it personal so that you can do it and it feels good? Stay in touch with your truth. Know that you've been through a lot. Discern through your fuck yes and your fuck no's, your feel goods and your feel like shits. Discern. Know that you have enough strength to pull yourself out of it. You don't have to see the entire future to know that it's going to work out in your favor. All you have to know is how you feel. Do you feel good about who you are and the choices you're making? Or don't you? Because if you feel good about who you are and the choices you're making today, you'll feel good about yourself tomorrow. You'll feel good about yourself 10 years from now if you keep that up. So, when it comes to your sacred soulmates, the ones that care about us across lifetimes, know you are equally their sacred soulmate too, and you will care about them across lifetimes. They're our greatest teachers, our earth angels. And we will always see them again. Always. Remember the possibilities that you feel in your intuition. If you can visualize a best case scenario, that best case scenario is possible. Let that warmth fill your being. If you can picture yourself with a person who has cut you off that you absolutely care about and realize absolutely cared about you, right? If you can picture yourself laughing with them 10 years from now, and the past being the past and being grown together in soul, if you can see yourselves looking back at, oh my God, remember the time I was such an asshole? I'm really glad we worked it out. If you can picture that, like, know that that's possible. The upright position of the child card or the fool card is possibilities. You got to remember, everything is impossible. Nothing's impossible. Who you were 5 years ago might look at who you are today and the understanding you have of yourself today and be like, yeah, that's impossible. I am who I am and blah, 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 and I'll never change. And here you are 5 years later, changed and growing and better than you were then. More understanding of the universe now as opposed to who you were then. So have faith in possibilities. Trust your intuition. If someone's meant to be back in your life because you can't picture them out of it forever, then they will be, and you just got to embrace time. Embrace your positive energy and create the best. So I hope this reading gives you some great insights into the year. I hope in hindsight that it serves you just as well and that it can continue to serve you all year. I hope that you come back and rewatch your months all year. The timestamps will be in the description for you so you can easily click month to month if you would like. All right. This is Grace Nicole Myths signing out. Remember, all is well. My love and support are with you always. Remember to love each other and most importantly, love yourself. Take care.